hard task, masking. Yeah.
I like to give orders.
It's addictive. Once you find that bit of gold, you do. Gold fever's real. It's dead set real.
So we're looking at around 2,500 long-term prospectors per year coming to the region.
There's no hum of a city, there's no cars, there's no... You get the hum of a metal detector sometimes, but that's about all. They're opening old mines now because the price of gold has jumped so much.
First couple of weeks out here I did pretty well, delighted. I've smiled, I've cried. It's just that feeling, yeah. You just can't explain it.
Moving on, several areas in India's southern states of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu received little to moderate rainfall on Thursday, as a depression over the west central and adjoining southwest Bay of Bengal crossed the northern Tamil Nadu and southern Andhra Pradesh coasts. Subsequently, the depression has weakened into a well-marked low-pressure area. Several areas in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh have seen heavy rains for the last days. In fact, rains brought residential neighborhoods and roads under knee-deep water and led to traffic congestion, besides affecting public transport services in major cities of Chennai and Bengaluru. Beyond's principal correspondent Siddharth MP sent us this report from Chennai. Take a look.
The Indian Meteorological Department has said that the depression or the weather system in the Bay of Bengal of India's east coast has crossed the coast between northern Tamil Nadu and southern Andhra Pradesh, roughly around Chennai. So this is a weather system that through the week brought almost heavy to extremely heavy rainfall in different parts of Tamil Nadu and in also different parts of Andhra Pradesh. However, while the system has crossed the coast, its impact will still remain. Squally winds and rough sea conditions will prevail off Tamil Nadu and off Andhra Pradesh coast. Fishermen have been advised to, remain ashore, or even those at sea have been asked to return to safety or remain safe at sea. At the same time, the northeast monsoon is active over parts of southern India. This is because the monsoon just set in this week, and this is expected to be active for at least the next 2 to 3 months. This time around, it's forecast that the monsoon will be above normal, which means very bountiful rainfalls could happen over the southern part of India over the next 2 to 3 months. We also have to keep in mind that the onset of the northeast monsoon happened exactly on the day when the southwest monsoon withdrew. From Chennai, Siddharth MP, WION, World is One.
Heavy rainfall lashed parts of Oman, flooding roads and causing disruption to daily life. Oman's meteorology agency has warned citizens on social media, saying further rainfall was expected in the coming days. Videos from the eastern Sur city showed cars driving on inundated roads while people on foot waded through the waters. Weather forecasts indicate continued cloud cover for Thursday, particularly in coastal and mountainous regions of Dhofar, with expected rainfall between 10 millimeters and 25 millimeters. Similar conditions are anticipated in the eastern and western Al Hajar mountains, with some improvements expected on Friday. And in response to the adverse weather conditions, rescue teams from the Civil Defence and Ambulance Authority conducted 23 operations across the governorates of South Sharkia and Muscat. The National Committee for Emergency Management confirmed 11 cases of rescue operations in South Sharkia and 12 more in Muscat. This is not an independent case that has surprised people. Rare rainfall has hit some of the most arid places on earth. Southeastern Morocco's Sahara Desert, known for its frequent drought, experienced floods. There are surreal images emerging of water rushing between the sand dunes after heavy rainfall in August and September. Southern Morocco is not usually affected by rainfall, but this year rains have affected the desert regions of the Moroccan Sahara, leaving the desert region flooded. Such events are very rare, less than once per decade on average, but they often signal a potential shift in the Earth's weather system, suggesting an abnormal atmospheric condition. Such rains, which meteorologists are calling an extratropical storm may indeed change the course of the region's weather in the months and years to come, as the air retains more moisture, causing more evaporation and drawing more storms.
Melbourne is bracing for a swarm of thunderstorms, with warnings about the possibility of destructive winds, giant hailstones and flash flooding. Melina Saris is tracking conditions, and Melina, a supercell thunderstorm has already smashed Western Victoria.
It has, Mitch, and more severe storms are set to hit the state over the next 24 hours. With winds so strong, the Bureau says trees could be ripped from the ground. They're urging residents to tie down any loose objects and be storm ready. The town of Casterton has already been battered. There's also a thunderstorm asthma alert for northern Victoria. As for us here in Melbourne, the Bureau says storms are set to hit early tomorrow afternoon.
Damage and destruction in Victoria's Wild West. Backyards turned to rivers and small businesses swamped after a vicious hailstorm smashed the country town of Casterton.
Oh my gosh.
I've never seen hail that size. It was incredible, and the noise was deafening.
The unexpected deluge caught locals off guard. No one was prepared for the wrath of the storm, which hit suddenly after 5:30 yesterday afternoon.
It was dark, it was gloomy, it was just every leaf had blown off the trees.
We actually did see a supercell thunderstorm, incredibly large, incredibly powerful, and generally brings us our most dangerous severe weather.
Resident Sandy Much was forced to shelter inside her car.
Honestly, it sounded like I was being shot at with a shotgun. I have never heard anything like it in my life.
The SES received 70 requests for help in just 3 hours, the majority for building damage. Extra manpower was called in from units across Victoria.
I will be working through the jobs for the next 48 hours at least.
Now, as the town tackles a mammoth clean-up, Melbourne braces, with much of the state on high alert for more fierce weather.
We do actually have a risk of severe thunderstorms across the Melbourne area for tomorrow.
Melina Saris, 7 News.
And in a tragic incident, 147 people were killed in Nigeria when an overturned gasoline tanker truck exploded while residents tried to scoop up the spilled fuel. The fuel tanker overturned in Nigeria's northern state of Jigawa after its driver lost control of the vehicle, and the blast took place when people tried to collect the spilled petrol. At least 50 people were injured or hospitalized, and videos from the scene showed a massive fire stretching across the area with what appeared to be bodies littered at the scene. The Nigerian Medical Association urged doctors to rush to nearby emergency rooms to help with the influx of patients, and while Nigerian lawmakers observed a minute's silence in the Senate. In a statement, Nigerian Vice President called for a safety review and said the federal government was sending resources to support those affected. Local government officials joined hundreds of mourners at a mass burial on Wednesday afternoon. Fuel tanker explosions are not unusual in Africa, unfortunately, where oil supplies are frequently dispatched via road. Previous fire incidents have led to multiple casualties. According to reports, in 2020, over 500 people were killed in more than 1,500 fuel tanker accidents that year. Gas prices have risen dramatically to over 6 times their usual rate since the government ended fuel subsidies last year. Despite being one of Africa's largest oil producers, Nigeria struggles with widespread poverty.
And now moving to Mexico, where the country is witnessing an escalating wave of violence, where holding public office has now become a deadly gamble. Just days after the brutal decapitation of Chilpancingo's mayor, another mayor has now been murdered, this time stabbed to death in Oaxaca. Political assassinations, gruesome cartel killings, and a country awash in bloodshed. Brutality remains a grim reality that Mexico's first female president, Claudia Sheinbaum, is struggling to contain. Here's our report with the latest.
Mexico was still coming to terms with the shocking assassination of Chilpancingo's mayor, Alejandro Arcos. protesters were out on the streets demanding justice, condemning the mayor's killing as dastardly and cowardly. They asked authorities, when will their suffering end? Until when will innocent lives keep falling prey to criminal gangs? And until when will these gangs control their nation?
It is the sentiment of the people. Indeed, we are sad. We are filled with rage and helplessness due to the cruel and vile way in which our mayor's life was taken. He brought a good project, a project that was about love, peace, and development for this capital city that has been neglected.
I condemn, and we strongly condemn, the dastardly, cowardly, and tragic murder of our mayor. We want justice.
That's when another shocking piece of news rocked the nation. Within 10 days of Arcos' killing, another mayor was stabbed to death. Roman Ruiz Bohorquez, the mayor of Candelaria Losica, Oaxaca, was brutally murdered in what authorities chillingly describe as an interpersonal conflict. Ruiz was rushed to a community clinic, clinging to life. But like so many others before him, he didn't make it. 4 other mayors living in constant fear have now begged federal authorities for protection.
Yo lo supo cuando me amaneció y ya todo lo subieron en las redes sociales. Híjole, yo sentí muy triste pues porque digo, ¿por qué?
¿Se había visto esto aquí en el pueblo?
No, no se había visto nada.
The violence in Mexico doesn't just stop at city halls. Just last week, the bodies of 5 men were found scattered in black bags on a road in Jalisco. Their heads were stashed in separate bags, which hint towards an obvious move by the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel. This is the same cartel that produced millions of fentanyl pills disguised as common painkillers and flooded the streets of the United States with the lethal drug, fueling an overdose crisis that kills tens of thousands each year. This carnage is not just an anomaly, it's a plague. Over 450,000 people have been killed since the Mexican government deployed the military against the cartels in 2006. The violence is no longer just about drug trafficking. Politics itself has become a battleground. In the June elections that brought Claudia Sheinbaum to the presidency, at least 37 political candidates were assassinated. Some were gunned down in broad daylight, others disappeared in the dead of night. Criminal organizations have infiltrated local politics, using money, threats and bullets to tighten their grip on power. Elected in one of Mexico's deadliest campaigns, the country's first woman president, Sheinbaum, has vowed to tackle the violence by doubling down on social programs, sticking with the hugs, not bullets policy introduced by her predecessor.
The first thing that is very important is that Calderon's war against the cartels is not going to return. We are not looking for extrajudicial executions, which was what was happening. What are we going to use? Prevention, attention to causes, intelligence, and presence. That is the 4-pronged strategy.
From the Ministry of Security, we will work with all the federal entities because we are convinced that in order to achieve lasting peace in the country, we must assume that security is a shared responsibility.
But as the bloodshed spirals, the question remains. Can Mexico's political leaders truly stop a war that's gone beyond drugs?
Now, Lebanon's Hezbollah group has released a video of what it claims the projection of its advanced Qadr-2 missiles against central Israel's Tel Aviv city. Now, the video published by the militant group early on Wednesday shows 2 projectiles being fired towards their targets.
following by clips of purportedly targeting areas recorded by the Israeli citizens where commotion can be seen on the road as cars move to take shelter in concrete blocks, while sirens of air raids can also be heard in the background. Now, Qadr-2 is a ballistic missile developed by Iran. The operation came only 2 days after the Iran-backed group fired a barrage of rockets in Tel Aviv and less than a week after its launch of a squadron of kamikaze drones. In another video released by Hezbollah, the group has warned that it would make Israel's Haifa city a more frequent target of its retaliatory strikes. Reportedly, the caption on the video read, "Look to the north, then watch for the day when the sky will bring a visible smoke." Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi has warned UN Chief Antonio Guterres that Tehran is ready for a decisive response if Israel attacks his country in retaliation for a missile attack. During the phone call with Guterres on Tuesday evening, Araghchi also appealed to the United Nations to use its resources to stop the aggressions of the Israeli regime. Iran fired about 200 missiles at Israel on October 1st, following which Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant vowed that his country's retaliatory measure will be deadly, precise and surprising.
The Chinese military has been doing drills around Taiwan, and Xi Jinping visited the province across from Taiwan. It's raising pressure, obviously, on Taiwan. What is your position were there to be an invasion of Taiwan by the Chinese military if you were president at the time?
Well, let me restate the point I've made many times. I believe in the one China policy, and I believe that Taiwan has a right to defend itself.
Would the American government provide arms for the Taiwanese defense?
How will you vote on the Get Up on Crime Method 36 proposition? I've not voted yet, and I've actually not read it yet. But I'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, thank you so much for that report. And you are looking at a post here coming in on X from Jonathan Schanzer. He is with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. As always, we do speak to them live here on Live Now from Fox. And actually, Enya Kervin with their office will join us here in just about 40 minutes to break down the latest as the IDF is still trying to piece all of this together. Now, Jonathan does say, was the head of Hamas and architect of the 10/7 slaughter finally killed today in Gaza? The channels I track in Hebrew say Yahya Sinwar is very likely dead. The channels I track in Arabic give no real indication either way, and then says confusion. Now, again, if you are just joining us, the statement is pretty limited from the Israel Defense Forces and Shin Bet. They released this joint statement saying that they are checking into the possibility that they may have killed Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas, during those operations in the Gaza Strip. The IDF saying that it did eliminate 3 terrorists, but the identity of those terrorists cannot yet be confirmed. They are trying to piece all of this together as it did just happen not too long ago. The Israeli military does say in the building where the terrorists were eliminated, there were no signs of any hostages. And it's important to note that a lot of folks out there, a lot of military experts had said that Yahya Sinwar was likely surrounded by some of the more than 100 hostages that do remain. Those hostages, of course, taken more than a year ago on October 7th during that attack by Hamas on Israel, in which 1,200 people were killed and about 250 people were taken hostage. The forces, we're told, that are operating in the area are continuing to operate with, quote, the required caution as they work to figure everything out here. Again, this would be big, of course, because Yahya Sinwar is the head of Hamas, and he was the architect, so to speak, of the October 7th slaughter attack that did happen in Israel. Again, as we are waiting for the IDF to provide a little bit more information, we do expect we will hear from their spokesperson in just a little bit. However, not clear if it will only be in Hebrew or if a statement will be made in English. Now, also important to note that Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu will also likely speak if it does turn out that Yahya Sinwar is dead A lot at this point still left to figure out, so we will have experts join us over the next several hours as we wait to learn more from Israeli military officials. And of course, once we do get any more information, we'll make sure to bring it to you right here on Live Now from Fox. Also do want to pop up this live image that we do have over in Han Yunis. This is, of course, over in Gaza as the war is now more than a year in following the attack by Hamas on Israel.